For years, Yahoo was synonymous with the internet in the United States. For millions of people, opening their browser meant landing right there. Email, news, sports, finance, all in one place. It seemed too solid to fail. But that same company had the chance to buy Google not once, but twice. And I said no. That no didn't cost a few million, or a few billion. It cost something close to $1 trillion in lost value. And the most curious thing is not the mistake itself. That's the reason. Yahoo did not refuse due to lack of money, nor due to a lack of technical knowledge. He refused because he believed he could see the future clearly. Meanwhile, Google saw something completely different, something that seemed small, almost irrelevant, but that would change the logic of the internet. This story isn't just about technology. It's about decisions that seem rational, approved by experienced leaders, and yet are still wrong. It's about confusing current position with permanent advantage. And it's about how truly great opportunities rarely seem great when they appear. Throughout this video, each part of this decision will make more sense. And in the end, the inevitable question won't be about Yahoo. It will be about which no's are going unnoticed in your own life. In the late 90s, it seemed impossible for anyone to dethrone the biggest internet portal. Yahoo wasn't just a website. It was the gateway to the web for millions of people in the United States. Email, news, sports, finance, everything went through there before any other click. Executives viewed the company as a complete digital city, not just a simple tool. This trust shaped every meeting, every slide, every strategic decision. While startups were struggling to survive, Yahoo was already selling ads as if it were a television network. For them, the internet was a medium, not infrastructure. And when someone dominates the stage, they tend to ignore what happens behind the scenes. That's exactly where the story starts to get uncomfortable. The problem wasn't a lack of money, talent, or access to information. It was the mental filter used to interpret the future. Yahoo thought of itself as a content company, not a systems company. Search was seen as a technical detail, almost an auxiliary button on the website. Something similar to placing a simple map at the entrance of a shopping mall. It works, it helps, but it doesn't seem to be the heart of the matter. This same mistake occurs when someone invests only in famous brands and ignores fundamentals. Those who only look at the company's name forget to study how it actually makes money. And when the focus is on the stage, the inner workings go unnoticed. Many Americans from that era remember opening their browser directly to Yahoo as an automatic habit. It was almost a morning ritual, along with coffee. Portals made sense in a world where the web was still confusing and slow. But habits change faster than power structures allow. Companies that seem eternal tend to rely too heavily on what already works. This excessive comfort leads to defensive decisions disguised as strategy. That's why studying cases like this changes the way you look at business and career. If this type of analysis helps you think differently about technology and decisions, subscribe to the channel and follow along with me in this conversation. In 1998, two young engineers came up with an idea that seemed too technical to impress experienced executives. Larry Page and Sergey Brin weren't selling a pretty website, nor a strong brand. They offered something far less glamorous, a mechanism that organized links based on mathematical relevance. For Yahoo, this sounded like an internal accessory, not a core product. Search was seen as something that improved the user experience, not as something that defined the business. It was like buying an engine thinking only about the car's hood. The proposal was analyzed using short-sighted logic. How much does this improve the website? How much does this generate in advertising revenue? And none of those questions touched on the most important point. In the leadership's view, it made more sense to license technology than to buy an entire company. Yahoo believed that simply controlling the audience was enough to win any digital battle. Whoever controls the traffic runs the game, right? This type of thinking arises when someone prefers to rent tools instead of building assets. Many professionals do this by relying solely on platforms without developing their own skills. If the platform changes tomorrow, personal value evaporates along with it. Yahoo viewed Google as replaceable code, not as a strategic foundation. And when something seems easy to replace, it tends to be underestimated. Have you ever let something important in your life slip away because it seemed too small at the time? The overlooked detail was simple, yet powerful. Whoever controls how people find information controls decisions, consumption, and attention. Search wasn't a button. It was a filter for digital reality. While Yahoo focused on landing pages, Google focused on intents. This difference changes everything in business and in personal life. When someone understands the reason behind the question, they gain an advantage over those who only offer options. The mistake wasn't in rejecting a low offer. It was a failure to understand the type of problem that was being solved. And when that perception fails, the second chance usually costs much more. Years pass, the scenery changes, and what seemed like a detail begins to become too big to ignore. Google is growing fast, improving results, and becoming a daily habit. Users are starting to skip portals and go straight to the search field. Yahoo realizes that something has gotten out of control. Search is no longer just an add-on, it's becoming the entry point to the internet. At this point, a second purchase opportunity arises. The asking price is no longer symbolic, it hurts the budget. And when it hurts, decisions cease to be technical and become emotional. This is precisely the point where many companies get stuck. Yahoo's leadership is starting to do the math by looking only at the price, not at the cost of inaction. The reasoning seemed prudent. Paying a high price for something that doesn't yet generate much profit sounds risky. But risk isn't just about spending money. Risk also includes gradually losing relevance. Many investors make the same mistake by avoiding good companies because they have risen too high. Those who ignored stocks like Amazon or Apple because they seemed expensive have already experienced this firsthand. Yahoo viewed Google as an inflated bet, not as an infrastructure that grew silently. And while negotiations cooled down, the market heated up. When the final decision came, there was no turning back. Google went it alone, adjusting its product, ads, and data. Yahoo remained stuck with outdated models, trying to protect what it already had. This difference in attitude separates growth from stagnation. Those who react late often pay more, even without buying anything. In personal life, this manifests when someone postpones learning an obvious skill. Programming, finance, communication. Everything seems dispensable until it becomes a basic requirement. If this type of story helps you see decisions more clearly, leave a like on the video. It really helps the channel to continue bringing you analyses of this level. While Google was making progress based on data, Yahoo continued to rely on content deals, banners, and editorial partnerships. The logic was familiar, comfortable, and predictable. Executives relied on full-page reports, not accurate results. Algorithms seemed too cold for those coming from traditional media. Data was viewed as support, not as direction. This type of leadership prefers to control narratives rather than understand behaviors. But the internet doesn't work like television. It's not the editor who chooses what appears on the screen, it's the user. And ignoring this is costly. Google understood early on that ads work best when they follow intent. It's not about showing more, it's about showing it right. This change redefined advertising, business, and even politics. While one side measured actual clicks, the other measured empty impressions. It's similar to those who measure hours worked instead of results delivered. In the corporate world of the United States, this still happens frequently. Long meetings replace clear metrics. Beautiful presentations can hide poor decisions. Have you ever worked in a place where appearance mattered more than impact? This blind spot doesn't appear out of nowhere. It arises when leaders stop learning from those who use the product. Search required humility, constant testing, and fine-tuning. Portals demanded control and predictability. One of these postures scales well, the other ages you quickly. In personal life, the same pattern can be seen. Those who insist on using old methods to solve new problems hinder growth. Learning to read data, feedback, and real signals changes trajectories. And when this interpretation fails, the outcome is usually public and costly. Over time, the difference between the two companies ceased to be purely technical and became historical. Google evolved from an academic project to become the world's leading gateway to information. It wasn't luck nor a miracle, it was obsessive focus on a specific problem. Search became a business, ads became a system, data became an accumulative advantage. Meanwhile, Yahoo began frequently changing its strategy, trying to find its way back. Large acquisitions, leadership changes, hasty repositioning. None of this can undo a decision that wasn't made when it mattered. The market doesn't punish small mistakes. It punishes prolonged lack of vision. The number that often appears in this story is almost uncomfortable to pronounce. $1 trillion. Not as a direct loss, but as value that ceased to exist in the right hands. This type of loss doesn't happen because of obvious incompetence. This happens when leaders confuse current dominance with future dominance. Many professionals do the same when they place too much trust in the position they hold. The world changes, function disappears, and comfort becomes a trap. Those who develop transferable skills sleep better at night. Those who rely solely on their position are at greater risk than they realize. This story has become one of the most talked about what-ifs in modern technology. Not to humiliate those who made a mistake, but to educate those who observe. Timing and vision matter more than size or reputation. Big decisions rarely seem big at the time they arise. They arrive disguised as technical details or inconvenient costs. Learning to identify these moments changes careers and companies. This is the type of knowledge that almost no one teaches formally. And those who understand this start playing a different game. A game where attention is worth more than power. After hearing this whole story, it's hard not to look at your own decisions more carefully. The Yahoo and Google case isn't about isolated genius, it's about attention. Pay attention to anything that seems small, technical, inconvenient, or outside the dominant pattern. Many people wait to have absolute certainty before acting, but the market never delivers that. Those who grow up learn to make decisions with incomplete information, observing signs, not guarantees. This same reasoning applies to career, investments, and even personal choices. It's worth asking yourself honestly. Have you been investing time in skills that remain valuable even when the landscape changes? Or are you too comfortable with something that works simply because it has always worked? How many opportunities have you already ignored because they seemed too simple or too expensive at first? These questions are unsettling, but they are what separate stagnation from real growth. If this video helped you see decisions in a different way, don't stop here. Apply this thinking to your daily life. Test it, observe it, adjust it. And if you want to continue learning with analyses that connect business, behavior, and strategy, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way you won't miss the next videos that could change the way you think and make decisions.